Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 6 and Episode 922 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada, always 100% Canadian, and of course, always beaverific. Today, recording day is Friday. Thank God I am Fly Day, June 5th. 2026, and it is a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. Big thank you to our hosts, our show's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. DamFam, how is your mental health doing today? As you can see, a little bit of a design change behind me, given that it's Pride Month, so might as well bring out the rainbow so that we can taste it. And otherwise, I am doing pretty well, I have to say. I am doing rather well indeed. It's been a big day here. I have to apologize because Silly Bee yesterday, when I think it was Kitavi G who asked, are we, what time are we going to be coming on now? And I said, we're trying to get back to the regular time. I not so much that I forgot, but my Beaver sweetie had a job interview, but it was not a typical one. It's done online, but it's a recorded job interview, which is kind of interesting, where you are a question is given to you, and you have once you read it, you have 10 minutes to prepare an answer, and then you have X number of attempts to record up to a 5-minute answer to the question, and then submit it. So it's not actually in front of a live person. So the process was not so much more complicated, but because of the lack of personal interaction when you're in a room giving an interview, and you usually have one chance to answer. This you have several chances, but you don't have the benefit of another personality with whom to interact. It makes actually the giving of an answer a little strange because you're writing down notes and you're preparing your answer in that 10 minutes and trying to get something succinct, and then you're trying to record yourself do it, but you don't have another person. So maintaining an engaged face and being able to present your best self is actually really tricky. Now for me, this is something that's less difficult, simply because with what I do as acting for a long time now, I've been doing video auditions where I'm not in a room with someone and not getting any feedback and not seeing any reaction. And but it's it's tough. it really is tough because, I'm trying to do it in front of a little camera in a small space, whereas if I'm in an audition room, well, I have all the room to play with, and I can add some stuff to my audition. Um, Unless I decide to like to take a wider view and, wider lens and get my whole body. Sometimes I want to focus on the face. So, but there are different, where the camera is changes your range of motion, what you can do, and all that kind of stuff. And and you can sit there and you can think, well, oh no, that one wasn't good, or I could do it better. And you try again. But then the more you try, the more you lose some authenticity and spontaneity, and then it doesn't look good. And so it's a process that's actually requires putting a different frame on an interview to master and to be able to put out something that you think presents yourself well. So the process was much more of a challenge than both of us had expected. So it was due by 9 a.m. this morning, and the first attempt, uh, because they give you a practice question to try, um, did not go over well. And my beaver sweetie was rather discouraged. So I last night, um, of course, had to come in and try to offer, uh, s- be supportive, um, and try to uh, put a different frame on it and try to see the process through a different light. Because at this point, it's not about connecting with the interviewer, right? I mean, it is in a way, but the interview is not there, right? But it's about presenting yourself in such a way that the interviewer, when they see it, can connect with you, um, which is an entirely different skill set. Um, so, we had to sort of go through and figure out, you know, what this new way of doing things requires of one in order to be able to do it and be effective. So by the time we figured all that out and got the first two questions done, it was bedtime. Because answering the last two questions when you're fatigued is not going to help you sell yourself. So we were up a little earlier this morning trying to make sure that it would be done by 9 and submitted. So that is why I am late, because I did not want to compete with bandwidth for this process because it was all online, and I also didn't want to be in the other room talking to you and it being some background noise that would distract my beaver sweetie from being able to do his best. So that is why I am late. Uh, Good beaver sweetie duty. So innocent, but with an explanation, as those of you of a certain vintage would remember Luba singing. Oh man. Looks like we have some good job data coming in according to Kit Taffy G. What I'm seeing here, 88,000 jobs added in May, and unemployment ticking back down to 6.5%. Oh, that's going to make Pierre Poilievre really unhappy now, is it? That's going to hinder him in his quest to convince us that we're in a full blown liberal recession. Yeah, that full blown liberal recession is so bad that we're creating jobs and the unemployment rate went down. Oops. I guess we'll be opening with that um, today on the show. Some breaking news. So yeah, that's what's going on for my part. Like I said, good mood. Got a better night's sleep yesterday. Still not enough, but not as tired as I was yesterday. I think you might have noticed at some point yesterday when I was doing the show, I was fading a little bit. So hopefully that will not happen today. Right. So it's let's see. Well, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about AI because the Prime Minister and the Minister of uh, what's his actual title, actually? Because this is normally when it comes to naming the ministers, I know the titles, but this is a new minister title that didn't exist. So, the Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation, Evan Solomon, uh, announced that Canada's AI, allegedly AI for all strategy, new AI strategy yesterday. And we're going to go into that. You guys talked about it on the chat, so I figured I would bring it to you today. Now, I do have to preface this with this is so far from my field of expertise. As you know, it's amazing that I have this going on because if I am not outright Luddite, I am Luddite adjacent. As you've been able to tell, my uh, evolution in handling the tech side of doing this, which hasn't always been smooth, and I haven't been great at sticking the dismounts and sometimes even the mounts. Have been rather questionable in terms of quality and skill. Um, so far from my field of expertise, but I will do the best I can with what we have. It's uh, not as extensive as I thought it would be, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing in that you do want to take these things somewhat slow, but bad thing in that this technology is spreading and growing at a relatively rapid rate and is basically changing the game and changing the rules on a lot of things. And uh, there's a certain Wild West aspect to this, just like there was with internet back in the day. And we didn't really do that great when it came to regulating internet when it came out. And so AI, a lot of us are really skeptical about the ability for it to be regulated, particularly by governments. Again, considering a lot of the things that we've been talking about lately, right? The leak of an electors list in Alberta and the government of Alberta not having any particularly sense of urgency when it comes to figuring out what the hell happened. No particular sense of motivation to give people information on how it is that they could protect themselves. And then we had that all in one ID card, and we're looking at a referendum in Alberta that the results can they even be considered credible because we do not know whether or not an election, a vote that has any integrity can be held while things are still being investigated, while no one has um, suffered any, no one involved with the leak has suffered any ill consequence, and nobody knows what has been done to shore up people's data and to make the electors list secure again in time for the referendum vote. At the same time, as this is happening, we have um, the rise of the use of internet to harass people for deep fakes, for things uh, like um, you know the way it's being used for certain groups to organize, the way it took part in the convoy, the way it's changing, uh, the way politics are practiced, where uh, those who were the village idiots now have a means to get together and offer themselves an echo chamber where they convince themselves they are not the village idiots, or that the world's racists have a way to get together and create an echo chamber to convince themselves that they're not the problem, everyone else is. And the loss of shame that has come with that, the continuous advertising all the time, that we are bombarded with information and disinformation campaigns. We are bombarded with um, the way, as we've seen in way too many cases, that it is being used to prey upon children. The way that, as we saw in Tumbler Ridge, the seeming lack of urgency on the part of OpenAI to report something. In fact, the employees of the company were saying, "Hey, we should do something about this," but clearly there was another consideration that obviously took over and was deemed more important, uh, most likely economic and financial for the company itself. Um, right? And they basically say, I apologize, and we will do better. And there is no consequence. Finding out that our laws, for example, in Alberta, where the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner is looking into the electoral list leak, but turns out that they might ultimately not be able to do anything because, oh, well, just how convenient, political parties have exempted themselves from the Privacy and Information Protection Act. Um, Political parties often exclude themselves from laws that are supposed to ensure that your privacy and your personal data are protected. Um, with AI, the potential for breaches are on steroids. Um, and that's just that kind of stuff. Then there's the impacts, potential impacts on the environment. For data centers, the potential impact on jobs and job security for people. There are plenty of reasons uh, to not be uh, enthusiastic about this, to be rather skeptical. And in fact, well, Canada is one of the um, has a is a really interesting position because it is one of the leading nations in the world when it comes to AI and AI technology. Um, but it also is one of the nations in the world that is the most skeptical about it, and that has adopted and integrated it the least as well. So we are we are suspicious of this, and again, looking at how poorly internet has been regulated, and now, we will hear the argument often that well, this is new and it's a budding technology, and we need to get in on the ground floor because we need to set the tone, and um, all of that is good. In theory, right? I can understand that. Industry emerging, get to know it first, be the first one out there, so you get to determine the rules or the size of the sandbox, where the boundaries are, rather than having it imposed on you. Um, but the problem is that um, these type of technologies evolve so fast that legislation is just not able to keep up. The time that it takes to write a bill, negotiate a bill, debate a bill, amend a bill, have all the people that come out of it come out in support and um, in opposition to it. A lot of the support and opposition to such bills being manufactured or paid for or financed by lobbyists. Again, a lot of those campaigns have information and misinformation and disinformation included in them as well. Um, by the time you sift through all of this, and we're having a perfect example here with the lawful access bill, and also um, bills to change rules for projects. Everybody's coming in and say, "Okay, we got these bills," and then everybody's going, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! The wording on this is definitely not good enough," and people want to go fast and get it out there, but there's so many things to discuss that. But in the meantime, the technology evolves and keeps on being seeded in places, and then once it's there, um, then, for example, as we found out with our streamers, right? We let the streaming platform come on, and then everybody did what they did, and now all of a sudden we're realizing, hey, maybe we should have you contributing to CanCon. Maybe we should change our tax structures because you're making money off Canadians but not paying any tax here. And then all of a sudden, whoa, 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 you can't do that. You're going to completely destroy the industry. It's like, well, and there's a whole system there, and it makes it hard for us to assert our sovereignty. And we keep on we keep on trying things or wanting to make a foray because people are asking for it, but then we have to keep on backing down and conceding. This, and we're basically uh, losing sovereignty to these faceless, nameless corporations who have a profit motive and are, of course, going to come to every committee and throw much money behind advertising campaigns and public influence campaigns to say that the government is trying to censor you, it's trying to curb your freedom of speech, so that they can keep on uh, operating in a world with basically no rules and no taxation, no accountability, no responsibility. I mean, there's a reason in the first place that a company like OpenAI, seeing that information that led many employees to believe that something really bad was going to happen in Tumbler Ridge, uh, that made the people, some decision makers in that company, determine that this is something that we don't need to involve the police in. We don't need to share this information yet. And there was a motive and a rationale and a reason behind that that had nothing to do, clearly, with protecting people or the end users or doing things in a responsible or ethical manner, right? It was more like, well, if this news gets out that this happened and this is going through here, that's going to look bad for us and maybe it will result in lawsuits. Or maybe it will reduce people's confidence in it. So let's just not say anything because nothing bad has happened yet, right? No, 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 nothing bad's happened yet. We don't need to deal with that. Oh my God, this is the time something bad happened. Now we're screwed. Yeah, but then there are no laws because we spent so much time debating whether or not it was going to curb freedom of speech or affect what civil liberties or whether or not it was going to crash the economy that we forgot that the first responsibility is, yeah, you know what? Let's put the law in first to make sure that people are safe. And if we have gone too far, then let's pull back and adjust. It's the other way where we keep on adapting, like, whoa, whoa, don't go too far to curtail this. And then bad things happen and a situation starts to establish itself in terms of how things operate. And then the people that like things just the way they are, thank you very much, uh, uh, put sticks in the spokes every opportunity they get to prevent from there being any regulation. We've just went through this with internet, and now we're looking at AI. So the lack of confidence of the population, um, pretty damn understandable, right? Um, and when this is a push to include more AI is coupled with a financial imperative, right? This is a whole other realm in which, we can go out there and be there and, make a lot of money for ourselves and develop a lot of intellectual property, which I am very much for. Remember, I keep on saying, right, when it comes to this type of stuff, right, it's intellectual property, patents, and all that kind of stuff is very, very important for your economic development, especially if we want to be more than just a resource economy. Right? We have to develop that stuff, and there's lots of potential there for a lot of economic output and economic activity in Canada that could benefit us. There's lots of stuff in AI that can serve us, right? Medically and in terms of planning, efficiency, traffic management, all that kind of stuff. There's lots of ways that elements of AI can be put to the service of the public to make things better. Um, but I guess it's a little bit. Um, like the saying, I think it is was a philosopher that was named Pericleus or Paracelsus, I think it was, um, who talked about um, he had a quote about things being this is a good thing or this is a bad thing, right? Like for example, dynamite back in the day, right, which was invented by Alfred Nobel, for whom the Nobel Peace Prize is named, and he invented it. Uh, and people saw, hey, this is great. If we're going to, if we need to m- build a path with a train and we need to blow up a little bit of some rock on the side of a mountain to make things pass, well, we can do that now. This is a great tool. But then he thought, yeah, if you want to make that kind of use of it, that can be great. But this could also be used in war as a destructive force, and a lot of people uh, can get hurt by this, right? And if I remember correctly, the story, I'm doing this by memory, but Nobel, when he saw the potential power of dynamite, um, wasn't particularly all that keen on its on it being something that let's see, on its potential for wider spread use. I think here it says in 1888, a French newspaper prematurely published an obituary for Alfred Nobel by confusing him with his deceased brother Ludwig. The scathing article condemned him as a, quote, merchant of death who grew rich by facilitating mass destruction. Apparently, stunned and horrified by his legacy, Alfred Nobel changed his will. He bequeathed the vast majority of his fortune to establish the Nobel Prize, funding annual awards. So that's where the Nobel Peace Prize came from. He was so horrified by the destructive capacity of his invention that he took the money he made from it and put it in uh, to what we know now as the Nobel Prizes, which funds annual awards in physics, chemistry, physiology, or medicine, literature, and peace. Um, so AI is the same thing, right? There's many ways it can be used for good, but there's many ways it could be used for some really scary stuff. And the saying from Paracelsus is, "In all things there is a poison, and there is nothing without a poison. It depends only upon the dose, whether a poison is a poison or not." Right. So essentially, uh, a cup in and of itself is not inherently good or bad. It's the use we make of it. How much? Water, right? Source of life. Not enough of it. Clearly, uh, you die. Too much of it, um, you might be filtering out essential nutrients that you need and making yourself sick, right? But often in the climate change debate, CO2. Well, plants need CO2. Blah, 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 I can't believe you want to keep it. CO2 is good for the world. Yes, in a certain dose, but too much of it is just as bad as not enough, right? So in this debate, in these discussions, um, some people want you to look at all the benefits that AI can bring and not focus so much on the downsides. There are other people that want to focus on just the downsides. This is a disastrous thing, but yeah, forego the benefits. So we need to put frames on things. And this horse is out of the barn, right? It's galloping away. We're not going to be able to put the tube back in the toothpaste. With regard to AI, we've already let it because we didn't have the rules grow to the point that it is now, right? Uh, in Canada, if I'm not mistaken, I was hearing, um, I think it was Solomon mentioning it on Power and Politics yesterday, and hopefully I can find the statistics for this. Um, but the AI industry in Canada um, is already very well established. Um, we have, not sure if I'm going to get the term exactly right because again, this is new terminology for me. But there are four, I'm going to guess, major languages, programming languages or something. Again, I might not have the term exactly right, but this sort of general idea. When it comes to AI, uh, and one obviously comes from the United States, the other, I am assuming, comes from China, but the other two uh, come from France and Canada. So we are one of those leading nations when it comes to that. Um, but according to Evan Solomon, who's the minister here, um, he says that hopefully I can find that data for you here. Um, it's an industry, I believe, that already employs greater than 100,000 people in Canada. According to Evan Solomon, we have 3,500 AI companies in Canada, 150,000 people working in AI right now, and they are high paying jobs. The digital sector in Canada has 800,000 people working at it. So, um, but the regulation that we need for the deployment of this technology still is not there. And a lot of people are skeptical about it. Um, if I remember correctly here, um, though we are a leader in terms of the technology itself, we have one of the lowest rates of adoption of AI in the OECD states at 12%. So, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a healthy skepticism. It's good to go slow and to be sure. But like I mentioned, this technology is evolving at a speed so rapid. And because, ironically, you once you have certain AI established, you can actually use AI to boost the speed and rate at which you develop future AI. The human ability to try to game out all the ways it could be good, but all the ways it could be bad, all the unintended impacts of deploying uh, the technology, the ability for people who are doing tabletop exercises with this to imagine, to be creative enough to imagine all the most horrible ways that this could be used is sometimes limited. I know for myself, and without describing myself as a cynic, I'm able to put myself in the shoes of a cynic. Um, you've seen it quite a few times on the show where I am stunned by people's ability um, to, to do things that are um, negative and toxic, and how much work people are willing to put into it. And uh, my mind is just not that creatively dark. Oh my God, yeah, who thought of this? And why? Um, I'm sure I'm not alone in that feeling. So, yeah, i- it's not the most accessible of subjects, right? All of us were at home, you know, and just leading our regular lives with the backgrounds and the education that we have. Um, how do you even form a truly informed opinion on what this is when you don't even have the ability to imagine what the potential scale and impact of this could be and what introducing it into certain areas can do? I mean, just look in the field of education. I'm looking at my Beaver sweetie. Look at all the work that teachers and educators and pedagogues have to do to try to find ways now to um, test what it is that people have actually learned to know, given that AI is there. And then look at the benefits that AI can bring when it is brought into a classroom and used intelligently for the purposes of advancing education. There's a lot of people that are maybe not traditional ways of educating, traditional strategies are not as effective. And there are other ways now to learn that can be created thanks to AI that might make education much more accessible for many more people. On the other hand, um, how do you know that the person in class really wrote that essay? Does the fact that there is AI now kind of just kill the essay exercise? Well, it doesn't if you make someone write the essay during the exam time without having any chance to go out and consult stuff. But the second that you say, hey, here's a take home assignment, how do you know? And now being a teacher is a lot about looking at these assignments and taking paragraphs from the assignment and scanning them in to see if they and putting using the AI itself to see whether or not the essay that you are correcting was done with AI, right? Rather than just sitting down and marking, it adds to workload. So then you coming up, well, if you can't do that, if you can't give people essay assignments anymore because you don't know, well, what other assignments, what other methods can you have to evaluate someone's ability to go out, take information, synthesize it, put it down in written form, and actually make a cogent and logical argument that actually comes from them? Well, that's more work. Right? And more processes and whatnot. And once you establish that, as soon as that new process is established, there's going to be someone out there trying to find a way to get around that and make that easier too. And it's almost a never ending cycle, right? So, like Kittasasi here says, you can also do both, maintain the old way of doing things and letting AI assist. It doesn't have to be all one or the other. Also, many people like handmade items and know the crafter. Exactly. But in order to bring in AI that allows you to take the best of AI and use it in creative ways and constructive ways, you can't just pick that piece, right? You're letting it all in. So, like I said, and change is uncomfortable, and change is scary, and the unknown is scary, and it's easier to oppose something because it is unknown. We're in Pride Month right now, and we're seeing it right with trans communities, right? And the opposition. There's so many people that don't understand the concept of transgender or what it is, but they're told that they need to fear it because they don't understand it. And then you have to have a whole bunch of people saying, you don't necessarily have to instantly fear that which you do not understand. Maybe if you went out for a coffee or two with someone who's trans, you'd realize that there isn't anything all that scary, right? And then on the other side of the ledger, you have all these people that say, all these transgender people, you got to fear them. All this stuff is going to go terrible. And then you have an incident, a mass casualty incident, where someone who is deemed, rumored, alleged to be transgender commits it. And then all the people that say, see, there's something wrong with transgender, there's just something wrong, point to that. And that will forever be the example that is held up to say why it is we cannot, we need to make all these laws that restrict their ability to exist in public space. Because we first take the attitude that we must fear what we don't understand. And once we get a confirmation that in some cases there could be something to fear, we associate it with the thing we don't understand rather than just saying, hey, if there are mass murderers who are male and female, if there are mass murderers of uh, in every race, in every culture, who follow every religion, then it's only a matter of time, statistically, before someday there is going to be a mass murder, the perpetrator of which happens to be transgender. That doesn't mean you have to fear people who are transgender. It's it's the fear of the unknown, and then be able to take that unknown and transpose it to something that is perfectly innocuous in order to create a narrative is really, really easy to do. It's not honest. It's not decent. Most people that are doing it are using it for very toxic ends, but it is really easy to do. So it makes it creates a level of general discomfort and some anxiety. And when human beings are in a position of discomfort, well, the natural instinct is to try to find some ways to relieve or diminish or eliminate that discomfort. And often, because, well, we humans are imperfect, some of the ways that we go about to reducing the anxiety or discomfort are not particularly healthy, or they come with their own set of unintended or perverse effects. That while they may reduce the discomfort on that one particular thing, create a whole set of problems over there that now you have to deal with, right? It's kind of like um, uh, digging a hole, having a hole, and then digging a hole to have earth to fill that hole. Well, you still have a hole. It's just in another place now. It's like unless you actually bring in enough earth to fill both holes, you're always going to have a hole somewhere. And if you try to fill the hole 3/4 of the way, well, then you maybe have three smaller holes somewhere else or depressions, but they're there, right? So it's a world that has a lot of potential, a lot of economic opportunity, and if you're focusing on that, um, you have a lot of people that are maybe not ready to hear that right now. In fact, there was a pretty good intervention in a discussion about this um, that involved Sachi Curl, I think it is, Angus Reid, um, has been doing some public opinion polling, of course, on the subject matter. Um, and she had some pretty interesting things to say. I'm hoping that I can find the quote on that. And only just, it's going to take me a second here because, um, um, what do you put it? Uh, there's more than one intervention here, and I forgot to take the 9 timestamp, so I'm just looking through the transcript to see what it is that we've got here. So just, I think, yeah, I think we might be close here. So let me hold on. I think, oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna, yeah, I found the clip here. I just have to set it up for us here. There we go. All right. Oh, there we go. I'll get to David Cochran's question as well, the lead up for this, to be sure that we get the full context of Sachi Curl's answer. So here it is, kids and cubs. Yep, that is the clip. It is on the screen, so everything should go smoothly. Here we go.
So Shachi, on where Canadians are with this, because part of the goal in this strategy is to build trust in AI. And I asked the minister, why is that the government's job and not, Anthropic's job and OpenAI? Like, they're trillionaires, these companies. They can earn the trust of Canadians, maybe by not scraping our data in defiance of Canadian privacy laws, for example. I mean, where is the public on this in terms of their affection, trust for the technology, and their confidence that the government can actually get a handle on it?
Yeah, David, where to start? It's not just a gap in trust. It's the Grand Canyon of a trust gap. It's massive. And for the government to be in a situation where they're revealing the strategy, and we know the Prime Minister loves his strategies. Somebody told me today this is like the 10th one they've rolled out. It's a big bet. It's a huge money bet, $2.3 billion. I think the parliamentary budget officers have said this could has the potential to increase the size of the deficit at a time where not just majorities of Canadians, but significant majorities of Canadians across a broad base of political views are not just skeptical or a little bit crooked eyebrowed about AI. They've actually crossed their arms. When you see 73% of Canadians telling us that they disagree with the premise that AI is a force for good in society, when you have 70% of Canadians who say, yes, government should absolutely be regulating against the tech companies and regulating so heavily that they don't care if it slows down development or it slows down opportunities for Canadian prosperity, where you've got, again, close to 3 in 4 in this country who say, even if government should be regulating, no government is actually capable of doing this effectively. And only single digits, right? Just like teeny tiny single digits saying that they view AI as something that will be a net positive for job creation in this country. You are dealing with a population that has a long way to come along with this government if they are to buy into what they were told today. And I want to acknowledge the Prime Minister and the Minister responsible, Evan Solomon, did talk about humility, did talk about the concerns, did acknowledge those things. Yeah. But I think it's going to have to be a lot more acknowledging and maybe a little bit less selling in terms of where this government wants to position itself on AI, because Canadians are not nearly as enthusiastic as this Prime Minister or this government appears to be on this issue.
Well,
so there you go, kids and cubs. reading some of the comments that came on there, and we are one of the most educated countries in the world. So while we may not be smart enough on average to understand everything about AI and how it's how it happens and how it's put together, we are smart enough to understand um, that there is power in its power, its scale, its scope, the downsides, potential downsides, and whatnot are rather impressive, and that um, as Miss Curl says here, that there's nobody that believes that any government would be able to circumscribe how it is that this is going to be deployed, particularly, when we can only make laws and rules for what we do in our country. But as we've seen with the web, um, thanks to internet, anybody anywhere around the world can enter your home. Anybody around the world can communicate with you and find you and reach you one on one of these things, right? That's one of the reasons why we're so terrified about our kids being online, because we don't know who from where is talking to them when they're playing Roblox. And it's not like we can sit there with them every time they are online to see who it is that they are talking to, right? And we've seen so many cases. Amanda Todd, for one. What can happen? We're seeing not only that, but all the other effects. Just think of the effects on when we're talking about teenagers, self-esteem, and all of those. Uh, you know, uh, your body image, what it is you think is normal and acceptable in terms of lifestyle. Looking at people who post a lot on social media and sharing about their life, but the version of their life that they are sharing is curated, right? Um, and then trying to live up to that standard, and the not feeling good enough, or the not whatever enough, not pretty enough, not good enough, not smart enough, not thin enough, not whatever enough, not living the lifestyle enough, and the unrealistic expectations that come with that. Pornography, in particular, the number of people watching these television shows, people, kids who are 12 years old that are in their rooms all day just consuming it because it happened to come across their platform, and kids are curious and they're fascinated. But then they have later on a completely unhealthy relationship with matters of sex and sexuality, unreasonable expectations of what intimacy is supposed to be like. All right. Um, and again, you can find anything and everything, as I said before, the darkest, most vile things on the web if you go looking for them. And sometimes they come to you when you're not looking for them. Remember that Luca Magnotta thing? There's a lot of people, when they heard about that story, that decided to go take a look at what it was that he did. Um, Fortunately, I was of an age where I already knew that there are certain things I don't need to see. Just like I'm at an age that there's certain things I know I don't have to try to know I won't like them. Or that I'm at an age where if there's a certain thing I don't have, it's because I've already determined I don't want it. It's not lacking in my life. I've decided I don't want it in my life. Um, but I also had the advantage of having X number of years on the planet prior to AI. There's going to be a whole generation for whom there not only is there going to be a generation that is born while it's already existed, there's going to be a generation that's sort of in between where it wasn't there for the first few years, but it's there now. Like I think of the desktop computer, right? It wasn't until I was in grade 5 when we were in school and we were programming in what is it? Is it Turing? I think it was the language that had the little turtle. I think it. Um, but I remember that. I remember that. You know, we had that little triangle that we called a turtle, and we were said advanced 10 pixels, and it would go 10 pixels, and could program it, and we made it draw a square, and like we were so proud of ourselves. Logo. I think that's the language. Yes, logo, not Turing, logo. And then by the time I was in high school, it was I think Pascal, which allowed so many other options. But prior to then, um, I had never seen a desktop computer, right? Microwaves, ovens. They didn't exist when I was a little kid. They came about somewhere when I was, I guess, maybe early teenager. Now we can't imagine our worlds without them, right? Um, these technologies have potential for a lot of good. Absolutely. Seeing here in the chat also when I was talking about um, um, Nobel with TNT, there was also Einstein with the splitting of the atom. Um, Intellectually, it was great exercise, stimulating, but once he figured it out, um, you know, so enthralled with wanting to advance the science and wanting to solve the problem, but then once the problem was actually solved, it was like, oh, with that bit of information, that's what could be done with it. Ooh, I didn't think about that when I was solving the problem. Had I thought about that, I maybe wouldn't have used my intellectual capacity to advance the science in that way. Oops. It's These are real things. They're real considerations. There's a lot of people out there in the world of AI that are just fascinated, like, or with robotics. That's, we see these things with robots that are dancing and doing flips and whatnot, and everybody in the audience is going, ha, ha, ha. And I'm just thinking of, now on the battlefield, or when it comes to crowd control or population subjugation. That dancing robot that can do flips and fall down and get back on its feet and come back and run, and that I don't think that that's that cute. When I see robots doing that, I'm terrified. I am terrified when I see that. Is how do you outrun that? Right? How do you unrun that? with this. I see that and I think Terminator, right? It's these are not easy subjects at all. But yeah, let's see what we have here in some comments here. What bothers me about AI is the possibility of people slowly losing their own reasoning skills. Yes, there are. I think on one of the things I saw in the United States, I think 1 in 3 boys, since we're talking about like mental health and mental health walk, boys, there's 1 in 3 boys in the United States that have uh, a relationship with a chat, AI chat thing that they view as a girlfriend. I think there was even a movie about that, right? With Joaquin Phoenix, was it? And Scarlett Johansson, called Her. I think it was. Take a look at that. Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a movie about a lonely writer who develops an unlikely relationship with an operating system designed to meet his every need. It even won an Oscar, right? Um, or one of the famous ones, right? 2001, Space Odyssey. I'm sorry, Dave. It's like that made people think. HAL 9000. Yes. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that. It's hey, 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 hey. It's sorry. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. um there's always something that we haven't thought of that can pop up and surprise us. And yeah, or the people running to chat right now, right? When we're talking about mental health and people who feel they don't have anybody to talk to, and they run to chat and they share their issues with it. But some of these platforms are designed to sort of sympathize and empathize. Oh yes, because I can see. Uh, I understand that you're feeling this, and you're right about this, and eventually, things get twisted and tortured, and then all of a sudden, this chatbot thing is counseling you to unalive yourself. Maybe you should consider that. Oh, this world is so terrible. I wish I was never born. The world would be better off with me in it. It's like, I understand that you're feeling that way. You might be right. If you would like to do that, can I counsel you these ways? It's like, you don't want that happening, right? And it's like, and the first reaction is not sitting there going, whoa, wait a minute. This thing that is zeros and ones is giving me advice on how to, right? Actually interpreting that as, oh, well, they really understand me. Maybe they're right. Maybe I will follow its advice. This is not, that's not where you should be going to. If you have that issue. Bad things have happened already. These examples that I'm giving are things that have happened. we don't have the rules. We don't have the education. And as parents who might be less technologically inclined than our children and less comfortable or knowledgeable with AI than they are, how the hell do we advise them? I mean, I can imagine tons of parents feeling extremely helpless. It's amazing. Oh, man. Let's see, what else do we have here? Kit Linda, I wonder how helpful or not helpful AI could be with special needs children. Is the AI being used for that? Is it working out? Yep, don't know. Um, Kit Linda, there's a difference between AI helping develop a pattern that a human makes and AI painting a picture or writing a book itself. Indeed. Uh, Jillian here. My concern with AI is that it seems it should all be derivative. How does new knowledge come about if people don't create it? Yeah. Kit Saucy here talking about certain other movies that explored the theme. I, Robot and Ghosts in the Machine. My Beaver sweetie read the first I, Robot book while we were in Mexico. Very, 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 very different than the movie, by the way. It's really fascinating story, but it's if you haven't read it, there are it's about AI system, and there are like three fundamental rules. And then you think, okay, that covers it, and it's pretty straightforward. But then you see moments how those rules interact with each other, and how sometimes they can slightly be in opposition to another. And then what is the criteria used when you have two rules that appear to be in conflict? Which one supersedes, right? If you, a lot of people are talking about, you know, there needs to be more mother, as in mother and father, uh, related or influenced programming when it comes to AI to ensure that you know uh, AI, when it's being used, is something that cares for humans. That the AI is programmed in such a way that if this advice is something that could lead to someone being harmed, I would not give that advice. But what if somewhere along in the process it calculates that the probability of not giving that advice is something that would harm? What do you do then? What is decided then? What becomes the deciding factor? Right? There's, again, just so many, so many potential things. Um, yeah, making music with AI, right? Um, I can sing, and my musical knowledge comes um, mostly from dance. My knowledge of rhythms and patterns and all that kind of stuff. So much so that sometimes when I listen to a song for the first time, within about a minute of the song, um, sometimes I can figure out as I'm sort of humming along. There are words that I pick up and I start singing a piece of the song. Sometimes I can predict what the next word is going to be, or I can predict when there's going to be a drop, when there's going to be a break, or there's going to be a key change, or there's going to be, you know, I have a sense. Um, I have enough of that that if there was a tool that could actually write the music for me, right? I could probably make music. I mean, we're seeing that, right, with loops and things like that. That people are one person bands. There are machines now, software that make various sounds. And you say, I want a beat here, and then you click, and there's a beat here, and then you can add. Okay, let's add some strings here. Let's add this sound here, and you layer them, and all of a sudden, you got something for a song, but you don't know how to compose a note, but you know how to, you know, you have an ear, and you can put programmed sounds together in such a way that when you put it together, makes something that could actually be quite enjoyable and could be popular. But did you write a song? As we know, writing a song to be, right? So it can make a lot of things a whole lot more accessible. But if you don't know what you're doing, like I said, if you don't know what you're doing with it, if you haven't got the right dose, how do you know that what you have in your hands is a remedy or a poison? Going back to the quote. Kit Linda here says AI was able to analyze fabric choices, go through a history of quilt patterns, and produce suggestions. It can't create the quilt, but if you hook it up to a sewing machine, could it? 3D printer? Exactly. There's a lot going on there. Yeah, let's go into the announcement itself here and see what there is. I'm going to take a look at this. Now, there were a couple of stories in the week leading up to what was coming yesterday, what came yesterday, I should say. So I'm just going to do like I did yesterday when I was looking for the submarine information, just to be sure that I've got everything for us. So back in May 21st, according to Kyle Bax of CBC, tech CEOs were putting out their input as to what they wanted from the federal AI strategy. And you're going to see here that concerns, wants, desires are very specific to the group making them. And as most people do when they're talking about what their wants, they're self-interested and not necessarily thinking about impacts on others. As the federal government finishes its delayed national AI strategy, some Canadian tech leaders say they want the new policy to provide a detailed blueprint showing how Ottawa will help the sector grow. Sachi Curl just said there are 73% of the Canadians who are sitting there going, we don't want the sector to grow. So right away, we're at cross purposes. The federal government has spent last year developing its latest AI policy, reviewing more than 11,000 submissions, and consulting a committee of 28 experts. Most recently, the government has set up 2 AI advisory groups to work with cultural and union leaders. Let's see. Those advisory groups were set in March of this year after a 3-day summit that had heard from artists and tech leaders on challenges facing creatives at the first National Summit on Artificial Intelligence and Culture, which took place in Banff. So there was an advisory council on AI and culture that was formed at the time, which was a joint venture between the Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation, Evan Solomon, and the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture, Mark Miller. And it consists, the council was consisting of 12 rotating members across creative and technology fields, or would be. So this is when it was announced. Of course, I'm not sure who's on it at the moment because none had been appointed at the time that the announcement was made. But Minister Sullivan said then, we want a permanent way that, one, our ministries work together. 2, that we codify the kind of stories and information that are here. And 3, that we have a way that we can deal with ongoing issues. So it brought together more than 300 artists, technology leaders, researchers, and policymakers to explore how AI is changing Canada's creative industries and what challenges need to be addressed. Let's see what else is here. So that was the thing that happened at that point. The strategy comes as public unease about AI is growing, fueled by job cuts at major companies, the security concerns about newer AI models, and questions about the role this technology has played in mass shootings, including Tumbler Ridge, BC, earlier this year, as I referred to when we were talking about it. And there's a great, if people are interested in it, there was an issue of CBC's Burner that I'm going to include here in the links. So right there for you, with technology ethicist Tristan Harris, who sounds the alarm about AI growth, arguing that the tech industry is currently in a dangerous race without the proper checks and that the consequences will be profound. Harris is the co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology, which he founded after working at Google, and he's also featured in the new documentary, The AI Doc, or How I Became an Apocalyptimist. Okay. So if you want to listen to that, that will give you a little bit of an idea about the public unease around it. Also, we have the situation with the United States where AI regulations were torn up by President Donald Trump upon his return to the White House last year in a push to prioritize innovation over government regulation. So that was always an issue here. Again, the people who have the corporate interests and have the ability to influence, telling people, no, don't worry about the safeguards. Don't worry. It's like, we're not there yet. And then all of a sudden, it's too late. Says here that for now, at the time that this was written at the end of May, the federal government insists it's taking time on the new national AI strategy to ensure it gets the policy right. Last month, so this was in April, Ottawa had offered a first glimpse by releasing the strategy's 6 pillars, and those pillars were protecting Canadians and safeguarding our democracy, empowering Canadians, powering AI adoption for shared prosperity, building the Canadian Sovereign AI Foundation, scaling Canadian champions, and building trusted partnerships and global alliances. Nothing here, particularly about job security, nothing here about the environment. In the meantime, Federal AI Minister Evan Solomon said the government is focused on expanding AI infrastructure, including last week's announcement supporting 3 new TELUS data centers in British Columbia. And on that, there was a plan unveiled for a sovereign AI data center cluster in Kamloops and the Vancouver area. This was announced on May 11th. Also, Minister Solomon, who was there in person, saying that the project would expand Canada's sovereign compute capacity while helping domestic, commercial, and academic interests to compete in the global AI economy. The proposal involves expanding TELUS's existing Kamloops facility and constructing 2 new data centers in Vancouver through Ottawa's Enabling Large-Scale Sovereign AI Data Centers initiative. TELUS says the Kamloops project and the first Vancouver project, located at the former Hootsuite headquarters in Mount Pleasant, will come online later this year. A second facility at 150 West Georgia Street is planned for 2029, and the project will begin with an 85 megawatt power draw, scaling up to 150 megawatts by 2032. That's another thing people are wondering, right? The debate that we're having between Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec about what's going to be going on with the hydroelectricity. Newfoundland and Labrador wants to change the initial agreement so that more power remains in Newfoundland and Labrador for whatever future uses they would want with it. We are talking about doubling the electrical grid, in part to make room to be able to power those data centers. But are there other things that we could use that power for that might have might have fewer wider ranging and potentially toxic impacts on society? Or do we just want to dedicate that energy to data centers at the moment? Right? According to TELUS, the facilities will run on 98% clean hydropower and recycle enough waste energy to heat 150,000 homes. TELUS says the projects will also use 90% less water than a traditional data center, and that it is working on plans to incorporate recycled water from BC Place Stadium. So there are some ways to make this a little greener that are being considered. And if these elements are rolled in, that is going to help with some public acceptability and getting public license for these. But uh, it's still concerning. And of course, the situation then becomes, well, will they follow through? And if they don't follow through, or if there's some type of error or something goes wrong, who's ultimately accountable? And does our legislation have the teeth required to hold them accountable? And on this, we can make the parallel with abandoned and orphaned wells in Alberta. Right? They got the social license to exploit the resource, and we were told and we were promised that if there was a mess, that we'd have to clean it up. And then the mess came around, and then said, well, that's just going to be too expensive. And then somebody, it would make us uncompetitive if we had to clean up our own mess. And then, of course, there was always somebody willing to say, oh, that's all right. You've done so much for the economy already. We'll take this on. And now they're just sitting there. Because at the time, the contracts and the rules and the laws were not written in such a way that made that obligation airtight, and then we didn't put any teeth in that enforcement to ensure that those had to be dealt with. So now they made all the money, they took all the profit, they left the mess. We got whatever benefit that trickled down to us from the exploitation of the resource, and now we're left with the bill for the cleanup, which we were not supposed to have. Right? When we consented to that, it was on the basis that we would not be left with the bill. But, X number of years later, well, we don't really need to make them clean that up now, do we? That's the thing that we fear. That's particular attitude that we've seen time and time and time and time again. Right? Where the profits are capitalized, but the mess and the debt and the cleanup, that's socialized. The risk is socialized. We've seen that. We've seen it before. We've seen it in many areas, and now the entire climate crisis, and now we're looking to bring that to AI computing. No wonder people are not enthralled, enthusiastic about this. So yeah, they're actually talking about this in this article here, talking about a build first, regulate later model. Let's guarantee that the horse can leave the barn, and then we'll try and figure out how we track down the horse, get it to come back, and put it back in the barn. That never happens. BC Green Party leader Emily Lowen accused lawmakers of using a build first, regulate later model, and said she wants a moratorium on new data centers in the province until stronger regulation and environmental policies are in place. There was plans to build a new facility in Nanaimo that sparked local pushback, with opponents warning it will churn through tens of thousands of liters of water per day. Are there better uses for that water? Probably. Says here, Some executives in the country's tech sector are hopeful Ottawa's new strategy will not only support the AI industry, but also accelerate its growth so Canada can become a leader in AI technology, talent, and companies. There's a long to do list to grow the sector, from constructing more data centers and networks to scaling up Canadian innovation, said Louis Tétu, the executive chairman of the Montreal based Covio, an AI platform with 800 employees in Canada. Quote, "This is a multifaceted problem, and I expect the government to be a catalyst to help Canada work together and make that very important goal happen," said Tétu in an interview with CBC News. "The country is excellent at science and innovation," he said, "but too often those are developed and monetized elsewhere. He doesn't want to see that happen with AI technology or the skilled workforce trained through Canadian universities. Ideally, he would like to see AI sector grow large enough to provide companies big and small with ample compute power, enough computing power to run AI systems, and to draw Canadian trained talent back to Canada. Quote, I'm looking for the government to truly be a catalyst," he said. The first pillar of the federal strategy focuses on protecting Canadians from AI, including through modern privacy and online safety laws. Those regulations are important, said BCE Bell Canada Chief Executive Mirko Bibic, because they become the guardrails for the industry to operate, guardrails that, once established, industry then starts to lobby to weaken. Instantly. Hire tons of lawyers, millions of dollars to try to weaken those safeguards and reduce them and eliminate them and take them off piece by piece. Ottawa will have to strike the right balance between regulations and innovation, he said. Beyond that, Bibic wants an in-depth plan for how Ottawa will grow the sector, including specific milestones and performance targets. It has to be measurable, he said, rather than a plan that ends up collecting dust on a shelf. Quote, "For me, the key test will be, is there appropriate ambition in the strategy? Is there a roadmap for what needs to be done?" Another pillar of the upcoming federal strategy is scaling up infrastructure in Canada so the country has a sovereign AI system that doesn't rely on foreign countries. Many countries, including Canada, are heavily dependent on US firms for digital and cloud services, remote computing, and data storage offered by technology giants such as Amazon and Microsoft. Recently, a Canadian launched a lawsuit against the US Department of Homeland Security, which allegedly sought, quote, vast swaths of information through Google about his personal life following social media posts critical of Donald Trump's administration. For Michael Arbus, the CEO of digital trading and investment platform Moomoo Canada, it's a worthwhile goal to pursue data sovereignty so companies like his would no longer have to rely on US tech giants. Considering the hefty power demands of data centers, Arbus would like to see the federal government explain how it plans to grow electricity production and transmission in Canada, including through nuclear, hydroelectricity, and natural gas-fired power plants. Quote, "What would be nice is to have a Canadian solution that's using Canadian power and Canadian compute. That would be a long-term aspiration to have because that would allow us to have control in what many might believe to be a constrained compute market over the next 10 to 20 years. Ottawa has pledged a separate national electricity strategy, which includes tens of billions of dollars in investment tax credits. A combined strategy could help ensure there is ample power for data centers," he said, while ensuring electricity rates are protected for consumers. Quote, "Wouldn't it be grand to say in a few years that we're a net exporter of compute, just like we are with natural resources as a country," said Arbus. "It would be a wonderful position to be in." Uh-huh. All right. Let's see where else. We had some AI stories here in the lead up to the announcement that took place yesterday. Just sorry, I'm scanning the page for AI, unfortunately, because AI is a combination of letters that is used in many words. It takes a little time to find them. But this one here was from May 27th, announced that the strategy would be released this week from Benjamin Lopez Stephen. Prime Minister Carney announced on May 27th, yes, that's the correct date, that the federal government's much anticipated national AI strategy, which has faced multiple delays over the last few months, will be released this week. Carney shared the news on his way into a Liberal caucus meeting in response to a reporter's question about why the strategy had not yet been released. Carney said, quote, "It's coming out next week." And then, of course, we talked about, the article goes on to talk about the six particular pillars that we mentioned before. The description of the pillars also mentioned given access to AI training and education for all Canadians, and modern privacy and online safety laws, strong national AI safety capabilities, and secure government systems. Some executives in the country's tech sector have expressed hope the strategy will not only support the AI industry, but accelerate its growth, as we just mentioned here. Meanwhile, some provinces are considering taking some action on AI into their own hands, like Manitoba, which has announced Canada's first social media and AI chatbot ban for children under 16. The federal government has previously said it is considering something similar. And yesterday, the Premier of Manitoba actually announced that he was opposing a data center that was planned for the province because we're basically not there yet. We haven't ensured that this can be done in such a way that is harmonious with the way we want to live. According to Darren Bernhardt, a large AI data center pitched for 141-hectare tract of farmland south of Winnipeg will not go ahead, Manitoba Premier Rob Canoe says. Quote, we've taken a look at this project. We've taken a look at AI more broadly, what's happening across North America, and these hyperscale data centers don't appear to be in the best interests of Manitobans, so we're going to say no to this data center. Las Vegas-based Jet AI and Vancouver-based Consensus Core planned to build a data center powered by natural gas turbines just north of Île-des-Chênes in the rural municipality of Richot, or Richo? I'm not sure here how to pronounce that. In a statement emailed to CBC News, Consensus Core CEO Wayne Lloyd said the company is reviewing Canoe's comments but hasn't given up hope. Quote, the company looks forward to, quote, robust engagement with Île-des-Chênes and the province, Lloyd said. CBC had also reached out to Jet AI but has not yet received a response. An online petition against the project, citing negative impacts of noise, light, and air pollution, has gathered more than 13,500 signatures to date. Climate Action Team Manitoba, a coalition of environmental and community nonprofit organizations, issued a, quote, position statement in March on such huge AI facilities, saying they would threaten Manitoba's clean energy future. Canoe said he is concerned about the impact on both the environment and the rural community. Quote, we got to be mindful of the unique way of life and the benefits that rural Manitobans want to keep. Canoe, whose government intends to ban social media and AI chatbots for kids, said another reason he opposes the data centers is because they encourage, quote, highly addictive tools that are monetizing the attention of our children. Quote, we're not going to be able to wind back the clock and get people to give up their tech, he said, but I reject the idea that we have to be slaves to surveillance capitalism in order to participate in the modern economy. God, I love that man. While there would be a buzz of economic activity during the construction phase of the project, once built, it offers little benefit to the province, Canoe said. Quote, in fact, most of the economic benefit probably leaves the province. Consensus Core's Lloyd challenged that assertion in his email to CBC, saying the company's project would create, quote, a significant amount of well-paid union jobs both during and after construction. He maintained it also won't be a draw on Manitoba Hydro because it would, quote, independently generate and store its own energy. The company is not requesting any public investment from the province, but the project would, quote, provide millions of dollars in annual local tax revenue, he wrote. The amount of natural gas that would be burned to power the facility, quote, was part of the analysis that resulted in deciding against it, Canoe said. Île-des-Chênes resident Christine Little, who started the petition against the center, said Thursday's announcement by Canoe put her, quote, completely over the moon. Quote, I'm so happy to hear that the provincial government is listening to us and that the things that we have to say, and they're actually looking into how this can affect our lives, our province, and our environment, she said. It's a huge win for us. Canoe said the decision doesn't mean there won't be data centers built in the province. There are already nine in Winnipeg and one in Winkler, but none so large. The government stores a lot of data, such as health information for Manitoba's, in smaller centers. In order to safeguard information rather than put it on a cloud system operated by a large company, the province bought a rack of GPUs, or graphics processing units, and beefed up Merlin, the Manitoba Education Research and Learning Information Networks. Quote, that's the scale of data center that we're going to do, Canoe said. We use about 1 to 1.8 we use about 1 to 1.5 megawatts of compute as the entire government. So the idea of building like a 500 megawatt facility, it doesn't really make sense. Canoe's decision comes as other provinces are diving into the big data centers and on the same day that Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled Canada's AI strategy. But Canoe compares the move to embrace those centers to a scramble in the 1800s. Quote, when we look at the gold rush and the potential bubble that's happening with these hyperscale data centers, I don't think that's something our provincial economy should place a huge bet on right now, he said. The technology is rapidly changing, he said. Highly capable AI is now available on consumer laptops so people can store their information privately rather than relying on cloud-based services. Quote, I have the feeling that maybe these $30 billion hyperscale data centers are going to be albatrosses in the future when people can run the AI that's necessary for their day-to-day use on their local MacBook, he said. Fletcher Barragar, an associate professor of economics at the University of Manitoba, also questioned the long-term benefits despite strong and growing demand. Quote, it's not clear how long that demand will last, whether it's sustainable or whether it is perhaps a bubble, he said. These are relatively new. We haven't got a good body of evidence, and I don't think about the long-term impacts or spin-offs effects that may or may not arise. I think more questions than answers. So that's what was going on with that. And yesterday, I saw a quote, a clip of a Premier Canoe addressing this that rocked my world. And therefore, I am going to look for it and see if it does the same for you. Because this is that is a little more holistic, in my opinion. It's not this is an emerging market and an emerging field of business, and we need to be at the forefront of it so that we can maximize our opportunity and claim our stake and not get left behind. Which is reasonable, right? When we're thinking about renewables, that's a reasonable position, right? We want to be industry leaders. We want to be in there first. We want to get the competitive advantage. We want it to come that when it starts to scale up, that people come to us for our expertise and our knowledge, and we can export that IP. All for it. AI is an entirely different context. That maybe we should, being the pioneers and being first, having first mover advantage, may not be an advantage. There are certain things sometimes you need to see how they play out a little bit. So let's see if I can bring this up for you. There we go. Let's hear Mr. Canoe. Premier Canoe, I should say.
We're not going to move ahead with the data center in Ile-des-Chênes because there's a big threat to the environment and not much benefit to the economy. I reject the idea that we have to be slaves to surveillance capitalism in order to participate in the modern economy. And so the message to any company out there should be, if you want to have a thoughtful, human-centered approach to technology, come to Manitoba, because that's what we're interested in.
A human-centered approach to the technology. Already that puts a frame that makes me much more comfortable. Then we need to be the first in this business space. Build it first, regulate it after, consequences be damned. We just need to be first. Get that foothold. Kit Lori Sue. Kit Lori Sue. Having her wob moment. That man is so good looking. I try to include as much wob I can for you specifically. You know that, right? Give the people what they want. Kit Tabby G, I actually respect Wob's decision here. I do too. I do too. And yes, Kit Linda bringing attention to another clip that another quote that Premier Canoe had in that press conference, having to do more with international trade than AI specifically here. But as you know, Premier Canoe has not been shy at all about putting some things right on the table. Right, we showed you that interview with Mike LeCouture of CTV, where Mr. Canoe, I keep on saying Mr. where Premier Canoe basically said, if the U.S. wants to do that, maybe we should just ask them to release the Epstein files. I'm like, are you saying that? And yeah, that's precisely what I'm saying. I love that man. But here's a.
So our position will maintain, where we've been so far, the elbows up perspective, and our perspective here in Manitoba is no Kuzma, no Boozma. So
there you go. Wab Kinew making it clear that he is not going to follow the lead of Saskatchewan and Alberta, who put American booze back on the shelves and got nothing for it. No. If the United States is not going to do Kuzma with us, then we're not going to do any Boozma. Just again, Chantal Hébert was like looking at that and goes, "It has the merit of being clear." Gary Mason, opinion columnist for the Globe and Mail, going, "Boy, he's good." He really is. He's got that like right up there. It's like, I'm Wap Kinew. How do you do? No Kuzma, no Boozma. He has the ability to put together a phrase, a quote. "I reject the idea that we have to be slaves to surveillance capitalism in order to participate in the modern economy." Boom. Who doesn't love that? Who did that? This guy has got it. Whatever it is, he's got it. Future Prime Minister of Canada, I'm sure. He was asked about that in an interview. I said, "Well, I fully intend to run for Premier of Manitoba again." And then he says, "Yeah, but someday," it says, "when you're in politics, there is no such thing as tomorrow when it comes to your own career. So right now, this is my job. I'm looking forward to keeping this job. Not planning to enter federal politics at the next opportunity. I would like to run to be Premier of Manitoba again. After that, that's a discussion for then." Kid Hyper T here. I see here. One of the moms at my daughter's daycare is an AI educator. Maybe we can try to set you up with an interview. I would love that. I would love that. Please. Thank you. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. 1,000 times. Yes. Was that enthusiastic enough? No, Kuzma needs a t-shirt. I think so too. Kit Lori Sue going, "Please know I deeply appreciate your efforts." Hey, if my audience is thirsty, I'm happy to provide the juice. A little squeeze of Wob in your cup. I am perfectly happy to pander. Hey, it also doesn't hurt that I think he's pretty good looking too. So it never pains me to put Wob on my screen. Let's just put it that way. It's such an effort, but I give and give and give. Oh man. So yeah, let's keep on going here with more of that AI stuff. Let's see. Of course, Pope Leo, who Prime Minister Carney cited when he made the announcement, but on May 29th, discussed response to AI and warned the world to slow down development. Says here that Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke with Pope Leo about artificial intelligence and the imperative that AI must serve humanity, human-centered. So it seems that Wab Kinew and the Pope are on the same wavelength here. A conversation that comes days after the Pope urged governments to slow down the development of AI systems. In a readout distributed to reporters on Friday afternoon, Carney's office said the Prime Minister, a devout Catholic, is, quote, welcoming the Pope's leadership in this field. Prime Minister Carney expressed Canada's desire to lead internationally on responsible AI and tools to benefit the global the global community, the readout said. A separate press release from the Vatican said the two discussed, quote, the importance of developing artificial intelligence from an ethical perspective and with a human-centered approach alongside other topics like promoting peace in the Middle East and the Ukraine. Well, I need to go and take a look at that press release here. Okay, it doesn't say much more than that. It said this afternoon, a telephone conversation took place between His Holiness Pope Leo XIV and His Excellency Mr. Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, on the occasion of the publication of the encyclical Magnificat Humanitas. The importance of developing artificial intelligence from an ethical perspective and with a human-centered approach was discussed. And then the conversation also touched upon questions of mutual interest at the regional and international levels, with particular reference to efforts in promoting peace, especially in the Middle East and Ukraine. There you go. Earlier, the Pope published his first encyclical and one of the highest forms of teaching from a pontiff to the Catholic Church members, and he warned AI systems can spread misinformation, prioritize conflict, and risk leading the world down a path of unending war. Quote, what is needed is a more active political involvement that is capable of slowing things down when everything is accelerating, said Leo in the text entitled Magnificat Humanitas, or Magnificent Humanity. The Pope invoked the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, where humans are driven by pride to create a tower tall enough to reach heaven and anger God, and said the story shows the risk of any enterprise that, quote, aspires to reach heaven without God's blessing. Quote, with the heart of a shepherd and a father, I ask everyone to abandon the construction of yet another Tower of Babel and to join forces in building up the common good. The document also decried a number of wars across the world, lamented the weakening of multilateral organizations, and warned that arms industry profits were a driving force behind conflicts. Quote, the past 60 years have been marked by conflicts of astonishing brutality, often affecting civilian populations on a massive scale. Humanity is slipping into a violent culture of power where peace no longer appears as a responsibility to be taken on, but as a fragile interval between conflicts. Wow. That's a very I was going to say illuminated take on it, but I'm guessing that if you're in that business, illumination kind of comes with the territory. Kind of part of the job in some way. Let's see. There we go. No, that can't be it. Hold on, just looking here to see. Oh, everything reset to 0. That's why I'm lost. Okay, sorry. I have to go back and look for stuff again because everything reset on me when I switched screens to bring you that story. Okay, there we go. So no AI there, no AI there. And then this one, this was from June 1st from Benjamin Lopez, stating that the national strategy, so for just before, a couple days before it was announced, urged to be light on details for AI safety. A draft version of Canada's national AI strategy outlines a drive to scale up business adoption and provide all Canadians access to free AI literacy training, but is short on specifics regarding how the federal government will protect Canadians from the technology's potentially harmful effects. The document obtained by CBC News entitled AI for All says the decisions Canada makes today about how we build, govern, and adopt AI will fundamentally shape our collective future. Prime Minister Carney said last Wednesday that the strategy would be released this week after several months' delay. The document obtained by CBC News was presented to the federal cabinet last week, according to a source, but it's not the final version and could be revised. Let's see here. The document says Canada has a major AI adoption gap, particularly among Canadian small-medium enterprises, which lag behind Nordic leaders Germany and France. It cites a KPMG University of Melbourne Global Trust Society study, which found Canada ranked very low among 47 countries on AI training and literacy, as well as trust in AI systems. To overcome that gap, the federal government proposes a national AI literacy initiative that will offer entry-level AI training for all Canadians, which includes empowering libraries and community organizations to bring AI literacy into every community. It also sets a goal of training more than 3,000 educators with AI learning kits to be used in their classrooms. The federal government intends to work with AI providers to help Canadian post secondary students access AI agents from trusted providers. Ottawa also promises to create up to 90,000 AI related job opportunities through the Student Work Placement Program and Canada Summer Jobs, plus other initiatives like the Skills for Success program, MyTax Adopt, and AI Plus X programs. The strategy projects more than 250,000 new AI relevant jobs will be created across the Canadian economy by 2031. For mid career workers, the draft strategy says Ottawa will assess training and upskill offerings, including the skilled trades, to scale up employer led training across the country with a priority on AI related skills. The document says the federal government will track and assess the societal, labor market, and economic impacts of AI to guide policy and leverage Statistics Canada's Artificial Intelligence and Technology Measurement Program. That program, previously referred to as TechStat, will allocate $25 million over 6 years in the last federal budget. Canada will ground its AI future in responsible governance, and that trust between citizens and their government is strengthened by AI, not strained by it, according to the safety pillar in the draft strategy. To achieve that goal, the document says Canada will modernize online safety laws to protect Canadians in the digital age, ensuring children and customers are safeguarded. However, it doesn't specify what those modernizations will look like. The federal government has previously said it's very seriously considering age restrictions for social media and AI chatbots, but no official decision has been made. In a statement given to CBC News earlier in May, a spokesperson for the Culture Minister, Mark Miller, said the federal government, quote, intends to act swiftly to better protect Canadians, especially children, from online harm. No decisions have been made, and we will have more details to share in due course, the spokesperson said. Additionally, Canada will, quote, advance work on AI transparency, including watermarking AI-generated content so Canadians are better aware when they interact with the technology. That I like. It does not say how the government plans to get AI companies to watermark the content. That's probably going to be a problem, as we saw with getting Meta to pay for news to be on their platform. Other items include investing tens of millions to expand the capabilities of the Canadian AI Safety Institute, alongside creating Canada Trusted AI certification program to help Canadians identify trustworthy products. There is also a broader commitment to protect elections from AI-enabled misinformation and foreign interference, and an acknowledgement that Ottawa will continue to review the Privacy Act to meet the needs of people in the digital age. There are several measures in the draft strategy aimed at helping Canadian small medium enterprises adopt AI tools, plus advancing new projects and scaling up Canadian champions. The draft strategy says Canada will support the development of an AI literacy and adoption assessment tool, among other online resources, to help small medium enterprises and entrepreneurs assess AI readiness and understand potential business impacts. Ottawa plans to add hundreds of millions of dollars to the AI Compute Access Fund, according to the document, which notes Canadian small medium enterprises have, quote, no affordable domestic option. The draft strategy also says Canadian small medium enterprises train and deploy models on foreign cloud platforms, which sends Canadian money abroad and places sensitive data and intellectual property outside the country. The fund, which currently has a total budget of $300 million, supports projects with compute costs ranging from $100,000 to $5 million. AI Minister Evan Solomon announced the first round of winners earlier this month at a web summit in Vancouver. And there were basically 44 projects that were going to get federal money to access compute power at the time. Solomon announced the first batch of winners at the Web Summit Vancouver and said there is, quote, positive signal that there's a deep appetite for compute and innovation in our economy. He added that there were many more applications for the fund than anticipated. According to the news release, the 44 projects, quote, are working across key sectors of the Canadian economy, including life sciences, healthcare, energy, advanced manufacturing, agriculture, finance, natural resources, and transportation. 8 of the projects are based in British Columbia and are receiving a combined total of $16.8 million, the release added. One of the winners is Variational AI, a Vancouver-based company co-founded by Handel Kim that uses AI for drug discovery, specifically synthesizing small molecules that it can license to biotechs and pharmaceutical companies. Kim told CBC the funding, quote, is a big help and will allow Variational AI's machine learning scientists to, quote, get access to compute they desperately need. So that in turn accelerates the improvement of our models, which then in turn makes better drugs, and we can help patients and meet unmet medical needs. According to the federal government, the AI Compute Access Fund helps support successful projects with compute costs ranging from $100,000 to $5 million. The program covers 2/3 of eligible costs for Canadian cloud-based AI compute services, or half of eligible costs for non-Canadian cloud-based AI compute services. Winners are judged against several criteria, including market potential and financial capacity. Other considerations include whether the projects present sufficient economic innovation and public benefits to Canada, and whether they align with departmental or federal priorities. So that was the thing with that announcement. Am I in the right spot here? Yeah, I am here. The draft strategy also proposed establishing a Canadian Tech Growth Fund so Canada can take equity stakes in top AI firms and help them meet global markets. Canada will also leverage its recently announced sovereign wealth fund to invest in emerging, quote, national champions, the draft strategy says. The details of how the sovereign wealth fund will work will have still not been released by the federal government. Plus, Canada will establish the federal government as, quote, a strategic anchor customer and leverage its Buy Canadian policy to help domestics scale up with revenue and references needed to export their products worldwide. Regarding the public service, the document says Canada will, quote, accelerate the procurement and delivery of AI solutions through its offer of digital transformation and launch a fellowship program to build internal expertise needed to procure, elevate, and deploy AI systems effectively within government. Finally, the document says Canada will try to solve national challenges through AI missions, the first being in healthcare, then other priority sectors like energy and natural resources, agriculture, transportation, manufacturing, and robotics and government services. I can see, like for agriculture, for example, monitoring, if things are being properly watered and receiving just the right amount of water, not too much and not too little, and at the specific time when they're requiring it, in order to be able to maximize yield crop while minimizing water usage. There could definitely be some applications for AI there, for example. In that vein, the federal government says it will launch a funded AI missions program to push targeted high-impact projects that deliver significant public good and improve Canadians' lives. The Carney government has consistently highlighted the need for a sovereign AI foundation, which includes data centers, but also measures to protect Canadians' data. The draft strategy says Canada's current AI data center and cloud offerings are largely foreign-owned and controlled, but Canadian players are entering the market. Moreover, the strategy notes Canada's sovereign compute capacity is nascent, particularly in cloud, and significant investments will be required to overcome reliance on foreign providers. Some solutions in the strategy include building a world-leading public supercomputer. Ottawa will also leverage government and industrial AI workloads and crowd in private capital to significantly expand sovereign compute and cloud infrastructure, according to the draft. That initiative will support constructing AI data centers that can scale at least 100 megawatts and would be designed to serve a spectrum of Canadian citizens. The draft strategy also proposes Canada expand its Sovereign Technology Alliance, which it launched in February in Germany, to, quote, enable secure and interoperable AI capabilities and open procurement opportunities for domestic champions. Data, which is described in the draft strategy as strategic national assets, is also given attention and resources. The official said Canada data sovereignty is expected to be on a spectrum, with some data being completely controlled by Canada and with hyperscalers, including large American companies, being able to operate in Canada as well. Key actions on data include building a new secure national data platform as a public resource for Canadian innovators and launch a health sector data space, which will, quote, link secure, private, and standardized data sets to strengthen clinical trials, health services research, and performance measurements. Under the sovereignty pillar is also Canada's plan to attract and retain talent. The document says the federal government will invest hundreds of millions to strengthen Canada's network of national AI institutes and increase the number of Canadian CIFAR AI chairs from 130 to nearly 200 researchers. Also, Ottawa also plans to expand its global talent stream permit program to accelerate entry of highly skilled AI workers and, quote, align measures for permanent residency to retain the talent Canada recruits. So that was elements as they appeared in a draft plan that was circulated a few days ago. No doubt that the plan that was presented probably was rather faithful to what was presented in the draft. I'm just going to take a look at how I'm doing on time here. I'm exactly hitting the 2-hour mark. So I'm going to try this experiment, Kits and Cubs. I'm going to close this show off. And since I've got more to say, programming part 2, that will start in a couple of minutes. Because I want to make this will hopefully this could be one of the first episodes that we get back on podcast form as we're in the final stages of signing up. So, kids and cubs, this is the end of this portion of today's show of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring. Word of mouth is priceless. I'm going to do the extra really quickly and then save the long extra for the second half. So, just letting you know here, uh, if you haven't smashed with our buttons yet, please do so. Scan this QR code, which will bring you to our page. You can click like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to give us some hype points if you can by clicking on the comment section. If you're watching on your cell phone within 7 days of this being aired, just swipe left and give us some hype points so people can find us more easily. And of course, if you would like to support our initiative financially, because we do require your help, this QR code will bring you to our coffee page where you can make a contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where you can work to keep your favorite beaver moist. All right. And you can, that's our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. And you can also donate super chats, membership stickers on our YouTube page. We really appreciate those. Or a direct bank transfer if you're buying Canadian via truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Just send us something there, and we would be happy to take your money and reinvest it back in the show, of course. After we buy ourselves a cup of coffee and hot chocolate, of course, because we must take care of the basics. So there we go, kids and cubs. That's what I got for now. I'm going to take a little half-hour break to go to Little Beaver's room, refresh or refuel up, program the part 2 of the episode, and then so let's see, it's 12:45 p.m. We'll see you at around 1:15. Okay, but I'm not going to leave without asking you for some audience participation. So can you please say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock in 1, 2, and 3. Let me hear you. Ooh, yeah, that's the good stuff. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. And because I live to serve, here you go, kids and cubs. Here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Amour et bisous, and see you really soon.